Hi everyone, bachphotography here, back with another video, so thank you very much for joining me once again. Today we're going to be looking at a review of the Godox MS300 Studio Strobe. Before we get into the video, make sure to check out in the description a link to a guide on how you can take portraits at nighttime and in low light. So if you're looking at getting some beautiful portraits at nighttime or in places that are dark, make sure to check out that free guide in the description. So this guide is going to be more of a hands-on review rather than the technical specifications of this strobe. And I'm going to give my thoughts on what I think of the strobe and whether I think you should buy it or not, and also just if I enjoyed the strobe. And we're also going to have a look at some photos that I took using it with the flash and also using it with the constant light. So here I am using it as a fill light with a really big light modifier. I think it's something like 120 centimeters, so it's a really big light modifier, and I'm pretty much just using it as a fill light, and this is on the flash mode. And for the first photo I'm going to show you, I was shooting on the lowest brightness setting. This actually has a really bright bulb, so we have 300 watts of power, which is plenty of brightness. We can really shoot stop down to f11 or lower at a quite high shutter speed, because this has a sync speed of up to 1/2000th of a second. So here's one of the photos I took using the strobe setting on the lowest setting with the Godox MS300 light. And you can see that with a really big softbox, it does a great job of illuminating the left side of Amelia's face. And when I say left side, I mean her left, so our right side. And you can see the really nice catch light in her eyes as well. So one thing I really like about this flash is that it's super accurate with the color, and also it's very consistent with the lighting that you can get from it. So I found that if I set it even at the lowest setting, which will be quite a difficult setting for it to be consistent at, it was always exactly the same lighting conditions every time I took a photo. And for the price, I think this is a really fantastic option if you're looking to do off-camera flash and strobe photography in a studio. But there are a few things that I think this isn't a particularly good strobe for, and we're going to get into that in a little bit further on into the video. But let's first talk about the pros of this flash. Well, first of all, it shoots up to a sync speed of 1/2000th of a second, which I think for in a studio setting, that is going to be perfectly fine, and that gives you lots of flexibility when you're shooting inside. It also has a pretty reasonable recycling time of just 0.1 of a second for the lowest power setting, and then a 1.8 second recycle for the highest power. So if you're shooting on the highest power, you're going to wait a little bit of time between shots, but I think particularly if you're shooting at lower power, which you really don't need a 300 watt strobe for that many things, and you're probably not going to be using on full power very often. So I think that the recycling time is quite reasonable. You also have a whole bunch of options for tethering this strobe to your camera. You have the option of using something like the X Pro, the X2, or the XT16 or X1 Godox triggers, and then you also have a couple of other options as well, like you can tether via light and USB and things like that. It has 50 steps of power adjustment, which I think is really good, and it goes all the way down from full power all the way down to 1/32nd power as well. So you can get just a little bit of subtle light if you want a little bit of extra light like I'm using here, or you can really overpower any other light source that is in the way of this photo. But now let's have a look at a few things that I don't like about this strobe, or maybe where I think it isn't very compatible, and maybe why you would want to choose something different, like an AD200 or maybe a AD600 BM, which is my favorite strobe of all time. Okay, so the first thing that I really think is a caveat, but not something that's going to be a problem if you're just doing studio work, and that is that it doesn't have an inbuilt battery. So you're not going to be able to take this wirelessly out and about outside and take photos outside unless you have a really big battery that you can kind of hook this thing up to outside. And if you're going to those levels, you might as well get something like the AD200, or if you need more power, the Godox AD600, which I really think is a fantastic product. Now, the price of this particular strobe, the MS300, is incredibly cheap. It's only about $130 or something like that, and you can also get a 200 watt version, which is the MS200. So I really don't think this is going to be very good for someone who's shooting outdoors with off-camera flash, but I think it's going to be an awesome product for someone who's looking at getting like an entry-level studio strobe that's going to be really good at performing consistent quality light and consistent power in a studio setting. So now let's have a look at a few more photos that we used the MS300 with, and let me know in the comments what you think of the quality of the light with this strobe. So keep in mind that I'm using a very big softbox, something that doesn't come with this strobe. So if you're wanting to get the same quality of light, you are going to have to get a big light modifier that softens the light up for your portraits. So what are my final thoughts on using the strobe and whether or not you should actually buy one for yourself? Well, I think if you already have a strobe like the AD600 or something like that, then there's nothing that this strobe can really offer you that strobe doesn't have, aside from it being much more lightweight and portable. But if you're looking to get into strobe photography, maybe you have a studio and you need to get a few different strobes so that you can have a main light and a key light and a hair light and all those sorts of things, I think that this strobe is an absolutely fantastic value for money and a really good quality strobe for the price. Definitely something that I would recommend to anyone who is looking to just get into strobe photography, or maybe buy a couple of these as a second and third light to really take your photography and your studio portraits to the next level. If you're looking at doing off-camera flash and things like that outside, this is not going to be the strobe for you, and instead I would choose something like the Godox AD200, or if you have a little bit more to spend, the AD600. So I'm going to leave a link to the raw files from this shoot in the description so that you can have a look at the lighting in these photos and then decide for yourself whether you would like to buy something like this strobe. And also, as always, I'm going to do some editing now on all of these photos, so if you'd like to follow along with the editing process, make sure to download the raw files in the description and then you can follow along with me now. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop in Camera Raw. So the first thing I'm going to do is add some clarity to the entire image just to make the hair pop and also make any of the shadows pop from the scene as well. Then we're going to up the highlights as well, just so we can get a little bit more punchiness in the image, particularly in the light areas around her eyes and forehead. Then we're going to play with the vibrance and also the color balance just to get nice colored skin tones. And then I'm also going to just drop the blues here, because when you shoot pretty much at any color balance, the shadows are going to be more blue and then the highlights are going to be more yellow. So a nice way to make an image a lot more warm is just to remove any of the blues that you can see in the shadows. So now I'm going to work on the eyes and just make them a little bit more shiny and sharp by just adding a little bit of clarity to the eyes and also the eyebrows. And you can see here that this was shot on the 35mm f1.4, and even at f1.4, this is a super sharp lens. So well done to Sigma for making such an amazing 35mm lens. The next thing we're going to do here is just add a little bit of shadows and clarity into Amelia's hair here. And this is really just to add a little bit more contrast because we were shooting with a very bright light to the camera left, and that's just going to reduce the contrast a little bit in the hair. So we're just adding a little bit more back in there. So now we're just going to add some clarity to the folds of her shirt as well, just to make her stand out from the background a little bit more. And that's one reason I really like shooting f1.4, because you can really separate the background from your subject. But we were shooting in quite an enclosed area here, so the background isn't that blurry, even though we're shooting at f1.4. And what you saw there was me just using the brush tool to change the color balance of Amelia's leg. Just because it was in shadow, it was looking a little bit blue. So now we're going to reduce the exposure and the blacks all the way to -5 stops, and I'm just going to use this brush as a masking tool just so I can see everywhere that I'm selecting. So the reason that I dropped the blacks and exposures is because everything that I touch now with this brush is going to go black, and what I'm doing here is just marking any parts of the skin that I'd like to make a bit more smooth. And once I've got all of the areas here that I'd like to highlight to smoothen out, I'm just going to reduce the clarity a little bit just to get rid of any ruggedness or imperfections to the skin. And you want to make sure not to go too far with this, because it will look unnatural if you reduce the clarity too much. But just reducing the clarity a little bit is a really great way to have a first pass of smoothing out the skin. So make sure not to put this brush over any of the areas you'd like to stay sharp, like the contours of her jawline and her eyes and lips and nostrils and things like that. Just places that you'd like to make a little bit more smooth. So the arms and legs as well, the shoulder and just the cheeks, forehead and places like that. So once we've done that, we're just going to get rid of those adjustments and then reduce the clarity just to an area that we think looks nice and smooth, but not too smooth. We still want to keep a little bit of texture in the skin here. Okay, Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is just zoom in onto the eyes here, reset my brush tool, and add just a little bit of saturation to the irises of Amelia's eyes. And this is really going to draw focus to the eyes in this portrait, particularly because they are so sharp, even at f1.4. Alright, so that's pretty much everything for Camera Raw. Now let's jump into native Photoshop and finish off this image. First thing we're going to do is just do some patch tooling and remove any of the imperfections in Amelia's skin. So I'm just going to fast forward this because it took about 5 or 6 minutes. And basically what we're doing is we're just circling any area that we'd like to remove and then dragging into an area that doesn't have any texture, and that's just going to remove any imperfections in the skin and make it nice and smooth. So that's everything for skin retouching. You can spend a lot of time doing this, but I like to just do a quick sort of 5-minute skin retouch, and that's normally enough for a typical portrait. Now we're going to go to Filter Liquify, and we're just going to move the hair out just a little bit to make it look more thick and more full. And this can really take your portraits to the next level and make your model look that much better just by making their hair look a little bit more full, thick, and healthy. So just little changes here, making sure that you can't tell that I've actually warped the hair. So finally, I'm just going to remove this little drain pipe here in the corner. I think it's a little bit distracting. So I'm just going to use the lasso tool and then the patch tool just to drag it out of the way. And that's everything for this image. Just going to remove that little blemish there on her jawline as well. And that's everything for this photo. So let me know what you think of this photo. I'm looking forward to your edits as well. Make sure to send them to me on Instagram. I'll leave the link to my Instagram in the description below. Check out the raw files if you didn't follow along with this edit, if you'd like to edit these photos later on, and let me know how you went with them as well. And also there will be in the description a link to all the equipment that I used on this photo shoot as well if you're interested in checking that out. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.